Alright guys, what's up? KingOnyx here. Today I have a Kaleos deck for you again. This is the deck that I've been mostly playing since Unearthed Prophecy launched. This is a mid-range Kaleos deck list. So, as the title implies, this is a mid-range deck. I think mid-range Kaleos is really good in the new expansion, and this is my version of it. We have a couple of big differences from the type of Kaleos decks that I've been seeing around, but I'll go over that soon. So for our cards, we're running 3 Juxtaposition, 2 Gotatsu, 3 Katara, 3 Midrange Seal, 3 Healing Mystic, 3 Phoenix Fire, 3 Scroll Bandit, 3 Battle Pando, 2 Lantern Fox, 3 Mind Cage Oni, 3 Flame Wreath, 3 Sunsteel Defender, 3 Eternity Painters, and 2 Grandmaster Zendos. So, right off the bat, our curve is actually kind of high, but I think this is fine for a mid-range deck, but we'll just go card by card first. So, starting off with Juxtaposition as well as Midrange Seal, these are 2 cards that I usually don't go over in my deck text, but it's actually quite important to mention them because of Flame Wreath. Flame Wreath is a new card introduced in Unearthed Prophecy, and it is a 4 mana 2/4 that reads, whenever this minion is moved for any reason, it deals 2 damage to all enemies around it. So obviously this has incredible synergy with Kaleos' BBS, which moves a minion as well. This is really good with Juxtaposition. So with Juxtaposition, you can activate this thing's effect on 4 mana, which is actually pretty great in most situations because that's pretty early on in the game, where 2 AoE damage is actually quite significant. So holding on Juxtaposition early games with Flame Wreath is actually pretty amazing, honestly. As well as this combo as well with Midrange Seal, of course, and Kaleos and BBS, as I already said. This can make for some incredible power plays late in the game, which is why Midrange Seal and Juxtaposition is actually quite important to use these wisely. If you can complete a play without having to use these, then you should probably go for that alternate play if you know that you're going to, like, if you still have 3 Flame Wreaths in your hand, or if you have if you still have 3 Flame Wreaths in your deck, or if you have 1 in your hand and you know you're going to be able to make a play with that later, then it might be a good idea to hold on to these. We're running 2 Gotatsu. I had 3 in originally, but I found that 3 was a little bit too much. This is basically just run for the ping, as well as a little bit of a deck thinner. This makes our deck more consistent. It can be pretty useful in certain situations, so it's just the 2 of basically have it in for the ping. I think pings are important for mid-range decks because they can kind of get clunky hands, and this helps with that. We're running 3 Katara. And I'll go ahead and go into one of the deck building decisions that I made with this deck. We're not running Killing Edge. I don't think Killing Edge is a very good card for mid-range Kaleos. I played mid-range Kaleos like a long time, like probably around a little bit before Rise of the Bloodborne, I think. I played it since then. I played Killing Edge in mid-range decks, and I found that I would usually rather just be playing like another big threat like Sunsteel Defender or Mind Cage Oni, rather than playing a Killing Edge most of the time. Obviously Killing Edge is still a very good card. You can put it in your deck if you want to. I mean, I don't think it's that great though, so it's usually more of a card that you want to play to just push more damage, and sometimes you can play it to create a threat on board, but I think Killing Edge is more easily answered than things like Mind Cage Oni and Sunsteel Defender. As well as it makes our deck have more dead draws later on in the game, when we'd rather just like if we're on 3 cards and we have Juxtaposition, Scroll Bandit, and Battle Panda on our hand, probably gonna want to replace either the Scroll Bandit or the Juxtaposition to try to find a mid-range threat. And if we have Killing Edge in our deck instead of that mid-range threat, then we might draw into Killing Edge instead of what we actually want, which is like a Sunsteel Defender or something, right? So that's my kind of reasoning for not including that as well. Might as well go into now. I don't have Inner Focus either, and pretty much for kind of the same reasons. I'd rather just be playing other things in my deck, but also Inner Focus makes your deck more combo dependent. It increases the amount of things that you can just dead draw, just like Killing Edge. Although KingOnyx can be a pretty good top deck in some situations. That's not my point. um, but yeah, the inner focus makes your deck more combo dependent, which I don't want for a mid-range deck. I want my deck to be very consistent. So yeah, inner focus can also be pretty useful, but I really don't think it's that good of a card anymore since it's 1 mana now. It's still pretty decent, pretty good actually in aggro, but I don't think it's necessary for mid-range. So continuing on with the rest of the deck, we have 3 healing mystics just for a bit of healing as a 2-drop. We have 3 Phoenix Stars because this is one of the best cards in Songhai. It's pretty much an auto include in most of my decks. We have 3 Scroll Bandits, and this is another one of the new cards from Unearthed expansions, and I think that this card is honestly kind of underrated. I don't think it's good for every deck, but I think it's really good for decks that want to be able to get value. This card gives you a lot of value. You have to understand that this steals a spell from your opponent's deck. That means that your opponent is not playing one of their cards. For instance, what if this steals a Holy Immolation? Like, that's so amazing. For one, you can use that Holy Immolation now, but that means that your opponent is short on 1 Holy Immolation. Like, being able to steal huge, impactful spells like that is a very big deal. As well as this is basically card draw, so it's less useful for like early game shenanigans that you can do with like Katara, but it can give you a lot of value through the card stealing. I don't want to spend too much time, so we're going to try to speed up here. We're playing 3 Battle Panda. This is just for some nice AoE. I think Battle Panda is a good 3-drop. I think it's good for mid-range. Be a decent threat. Sometimes it'll draw or removal, so yeah. We're running 2 Lantern Fox, and this is just because I wanted a little bit more card draw, as well as Lantern Fox is more burst than things like Sojourner, which draws you a card from your deck. Lantern Fox is going to draw you Phoenix Fire, which means that it draws you damage guaranteed, which is nice for it's nice for this deck because this deck can kind of have trouble closing out games sometimes, so this helps with that. Running 3 Mind Cage only. This is another one of the new cards from Unearthed Prophecy. This card is really, really, really good. It's really annoying, honestly. So this is another one of those value cards, I think. Playing this when you have another threat on the board that your opponent is going to want to remove with the spell like Flame Wreath is a really strong play. So you can kind of play this after you play your other threats, and your opponent will have to play removal on your other threats, but that means that whatever removal spell they play is going to get copied by the Mind Cage Oni. Sometimes people will be smart enough to play around that kind of by playing BBS, and then whatever spell that they want to play, they'll play the removal on your Mind Cage Oni instead after playing BBS sometimes, which is still incredible value because that means that your other thing isn't getting removed, and you're still getting a copy of their spells. So even if this just procs off of a BBS, you still get card draw, which is like, there's almost no downside to this card, honestly. As long as you position correctly and make sure that they can't trade into it easily, you can get tons of value off of this. It's just a great card all around. We've kind of already talked about Flame Wreath, but this, we'll kind of talk about it a little bit more here. This card fills a very big role that Songhai decks have been missing, I think, or very specifically Kaleos decks have been missing. This fills the AoE role, and it's very good at doing so. It's very comparable to Holy Immolation, right? Because you can play it on 6 mana with Blink and like Misdragon Seal or Juxtaposition to do 4 damage in AoE. But it pushes damage, it does AoE damage, very good. And overall it just helps Kaleos a lot with some of his harder matchups, like against Swarm Abyssian. If you're not running Battle Panda, can help against pretty much everything. It's just very generally good. We're running 3 Sunsteel Defenders, and this may look odd to some people. Might wonder why not Thunderhorn. I like Sunsteel more because it's actually harder for a lot of factions to remove than Thunderhorn. Well, I guess it's about as hard to remove, but Sunsteel Defender can get a lot more value long term. Thunderhorn is probably just going to die after like 1 or 2 turns if your opponent doesn't have removal for it, but Sunsteel can kind of last longer if your opponent doesn't have removal. I've had games where these things have just lasted for a couple of turns and won me the game by themselves. I think this is a very good card for mid-range. I think it's good in the current meta. The only thing that really punishes it is Sandstorm Reader and Vanar, which, I mean, it's pretty good in all the other matchups I found. And even can be pretty good against Vet sometimes as well if you can place it at a Sandstorm Reader range. Which, of course, it still gets hit by Bloodavare, but Bloodavare isn't that big of a deal for this deck, I don't think. Next we have 3 Eternity Painters. This is another one of those cards that I think is really, really good. So, this is basically, this gives you the ability to compete with anything. Like, if you're playing against like Dying Wish Odyssean in the past and they got like 2 Lurking Fears in their first 2 turns and you couldn't put enough pressure on them, then you basically lost the game before this card came out, because they will be playing down these huge threats turn after turn because they're discounted, and you will just get overwhelmed and you wouldn't have enough Onyx Paraseals or Phoenix Fires or whatever in your deck to deal with them. But now you can deal with pretty much everything. This is AoE Transform removal, which is just it's insane. Like, it really is just completely insane. Like, this card is just so amazing. It's combined with Flame Wreath, it pretty much covers all of your removal needs, honestly. I think this card is just straight up good enough to run as a 3-of in most decks. It's just that good. It really is that good. Last we have 2 copies of Zendo, and this is basically just for finisher potential, just so we can have some reliable in-game damage. It can be useful to close out games sometimes when your opponent tries to stick to the wall, and it's just another very good minion. So that will do it for our deck tech portion of this video. We're going to go ahead and jump into some replays. I just got S rank, and I have some really good games that I want to show you guys. So probably look at 1 or 2 games, maybe. It depends on how long this takes. Let's see here. I think we will actually look at we'll look at a Kaleos mirror here. So this was a pretty interesting game. It was a little bit of a clutch, but I probably could have won this game a little bit more easily if I had played better, but you'll see. So looking at our opening hand, we probably don't need the Scroll Bandit here. We're looking for more like 3+ mana things. Scroll Bandit can be good, but I think we'll really just play the Battle Panda on turn 1. Battle Panda is very hard for some kind to deal with, so obviously they can like Phoenix Fire plus Gotatsu it, but that's still not a super clean answer. And we replace the Scroll Bandit to Zendo. We'll probably just replace this Zendo. It's a little bit too early for it. Our opponent plays a Healing Mystic. This is not that big of a deal. Just ignore this, and we'll play our Battle Panda. So yeah, we just move up here. I like trying to stay near the center versus Sonkai. It just helps you maintain board control. You don't want to get back into a corner against any faction really. So I just play the Battle Panda 1 space above my general so you can't clear it easily with Phoenix Fire. He does have a Lightbender though, which this is actually kind of it's actually kind of good for me that he dispelled those mana tiles, because I wasn't going to be using them anyways. So that was a good thing for me, I'll say. Our play here is pretty simple, I think. I believe we keep everything in our hand here, and we just replace the Phoenix Fire. So I think that was actually kind of questionable. I don't think I actually should have replaced that Phoenix Fire. I was thinking that I wouldn't need it because I'm gonna play the Battle Pando. I'm gonna move my general here. I'm gonna clear this off with my general and the Battle Pando, and then I'm gonna play the Battle Pando back here. I'm gonna play a Katara right here. So I figured it wasn't necessary to keep the Phoenix Fire because I was gonna have things on board, so I could just clear whatever you play with Juxtaposition. But you'll see why that probably wasn't a good play later. And I placed the stuff back here because I didn't want him to easily clear it with like Phoenix Fire and whatnot. Keeping the Battle Pandas alive is actually quite nice for this matchup because it can end up doing some pretty insane board wipes even with just the one AoE damage. Unfortunately, he has a Midrange Seal here to clear off my Katara, as well as actually he plays a Scroll Bandit here in Inner Focus. This is still kind of bad for me, even though he doesn't clear the Battle Pando, because he's stolen a card from my deck, which is either a Midrange Seal, a Juxtaposition, a Phoenix Fire, or a Gotatsu. Best thing for him to steal for me would have been the Gotatsu, but yeah, getting a Midrange Seal or Juxtaposition would be kind of bad for us because that makes our Flame Wreath worse, and that makes his Flame Wreath better. Fortunately, we have a pretty good board clear here with a Flame Wreath, but I'll go ahead and show you guys the play that I made. I just summoned the Flame Wreath here, blink it here to clear off these two minions, and I actually decided to keep my Battle Pando alive in the back so I can use it to trade with something on my next turn. However, this was a pretty critical mistake. Like I said, I mostly lost this game because of my own misplays. So he responds to this play with his own Flame Wreath, and he has his BVS up so he can completely wipe our board here. And you'll also notice the Flame Wreath goes to 3 HP, which just so happens to be Phoenix Fire range. So replacing that Phoenix Fire earlier turned out to be quite the bad decision. Generally speaking, it wasn't a good decision because Phoenix Fire is just a very useful card overall. At this point, I'm looking for the Phoenix Fire that I replaced. I replaced the Healing Mystic. I don't find the Phoenix Fire. But thinking about our last turn, what we could have done instead was just clear his board with the Battle Pando and our general attack. That would have been much less greedy, and we could have just played the Mind Cage Oni out of his range. So if he played like a Phoenix Fire to kill it, then we would get a Phoenix Fire of our own, and he probably wouldn't have had anything else to play that turn. If he didn't kill it, then we could have just used like Midrange Seal or Blink on it. Like if he didn't kill it and he could just play through Flame Wreath, and we could just clear that Flame Wreath easily without Midrange Seal or Blink. But yeah, we replaced the Healing Mystic into a Sunsteel Defender, which isn't what we're looking for. So at this point, I'm just looking to try to get something to stick on the board so I can kill the Flame Wreath. So unfortunately, I have to play my stuff out of his range, or out of the Flame Wreath's range, just to try to give my stuff a chance to stick. Unfortunately, that plays into another Flame Wreath, so I didn't have that many good decisions here. This was all that I could really do, I think. And even more unfortunately, he has yet another Flame Wreath. This just keeps on going bad to worse, and he has a Juxtaposition, so he can clear both of these without even using his general attack. Fortunately, he uses that Juxtaposition first, so he gives us 2 instead of using his BPS first. He completely refills our hand by doing this play, but we still have no answer to these Flame Wreaths. So this is kind of where Mind Cage Oni is pretty useful. Even though it's got cleared by those. They happen really fast. We replaced the blink into a Phoenix Fire. But as I was saying, even though those Mind Cage Onyx got cleared relatively easily by the Flame Wreath, it still completely filled our hand back up, which is really good. But yeah, we just Phoenix Fired the other Flame Wreath, and we just play a Sunstone in the back. Again, this is just so it has a better chance to stick to the board, so we can clear his Flame Wreath with it next turn with the Midrange Seal. However, things just keep on getting worse for us. He plays the Grandmaster Zendo in the back. We have currently absolutely no way to clear this. And even if we clear the Grandmaster Zendo, he would still have the Flame Wreath alive. However, we replace the Juxtaposition into Eternity Painter. So, obviously, I can just, I actually have two decisions here. I could have, actually no, there's only one play here. So I just Midrange Seal the Sunstone Defender to a spot where I can play the Eternity Painter to get both of his minions with the Eternity Painter, and transform them. However, I do think that this was yet another misplay. So we played the Eternity Painter here, and we only moved our Sunstone one space. We could have instead Midrange Seal the Sunstone right here, and played the Eternity Painter in the same place where we played it, except we could have moved the Sunstone Defender 2 spaces up, so we could have played around his Eternity Painter or his Flame Wreath. He doesn't have them, but if he did have them, then he easily could have won this game. So like I said, this is just misplay after misplay, honestly. He does have an Onyx Bear Seal to get rid of the Sunstone. That's not really very good though, and he's only on 2 cards. It's actually, yeah, he's gonna be on 2 cards next turn he plays the Katara. So at this point, that Eternity Painter swing the board pretty significantly, and we're looking really good. Replace the, I think we replaced the Juxtaposition there into a Flame Wreath. Obviously very good. I actually had intended to do a different play than what I was going to do. I was planning on blinking this right here and playing the Kotatsu to kill the Katara, and then playing the Sunstone Defender, but I realized that I didn't have enough mana for that midway through my play. So instead I just used the Juxtaposition here with the Katara to kill off the Katara. I could have also Juxtaposition I could have moved the Paddle up and Juxtaposition the Paddle and the Eternity Painter and then killed the Katara as well, but I think this play is slightly better since we push face damage. And we just played the Sunstone Defender instead of the other play because we wouldn't have been able to play the Sunstone. But yeah. At this point, we're both on 2 cards. My board is significantly better than his. The only thing that potentially gets him out of this is an Eternity Painter, which wouldn't actually matter because I could just then transform his Eternity Painter and he's at 6 HP, so like a Phoenix Fire top deck would kill him, I think, if he stayed in range of this. So yeah. Our opponent realizes this, and I believe he just concedes here. Yep. So we really showed off the power of Eternity Painter there. It really pretty much just completely turned that game around for us. See, how long is this video? Unfortunately, that's all that I'll be able to show you guys. I had some really other good games. This game against Pal and Nakissa, I actually like, I was just making several bad misplays today. against Pound because I accidentally Phoenix Fired myself, and the next turn I would have had lethal if I hadn't used that Phoenix Fire on myself. So yeah. That happened. So I probably could have won this game. It was a very obvious misplay that I made. Rest of the games I think I played pretty well. These two games were really exciting, but this video is getting too long, so you'll have to add me in game if you want to see those games. My in-game name is KingOnyx for those who want to add me. That will be all for this video, guys. Leave a like if you like the video. Leave a subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for watching. Yeah, I think that's it. See ya.